Well, good evening, everyone, on this pre-snowy evening. My name is Richard Waring. I've been a member of the PoemWorks community since the turn of the century. And with that in mind, I want to share some wisdom from our beloved mentor who got this whole community going, and it's now thriving and expanding through its various apostles and acolytes. Barbara says, and these are all actual quotes from workshops in the past, if everything in a poem is a simile, it's often hiding what is essential, what actually is. And here's another one. Write so that you make what comes before bearable. Number 3, poets don't sit in their cars and mind their own business. I always think about that in traffic jams. Number 4, the penultimate quote from Barbara. You've told it well, but not enough. I always keep that in mind. And lastly, I like the title, but not for this poem. Or as Billy Collins says, between the title and the text of the poem, it's like you're from the dock into a canoe, and a lot can happen between the two events. Well, this is a very unique and special evening with 2 featured poets who are going to, in a kind of chunky style, 8 or 10 minutes by one, 8 or 10 minutes by the other, then going back to the first 8 or 10 minutes, and then 8 or 10 minutes. So this should be a very interesting interweaving. So I will read the introductions for both poets. Sharon A. Foley has poems published in Nick's Mate Review, Patterson Literary Review, Swim Every Day, Speckled Trout Review, Solstice, South Florida Poetry Journal, and the Big Windows Review. She entered the Sisters of Mercy at age 18 and lived with them as a nun for 29 years. She has a chapbook, A Kind of Mercy, about her younger life that is ready for publication. Sharon has a BA in English from Sal Virginia College and an MSW from Simmons College. She worked many years as a school social worker and is now a private practice psychotherapist in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Karen Elizabeth Sharpe is from Rutland, Massachusetts. She is the author of Prayer Can Be Anything by Finishing Line Press, published last year, and a poetry editor at the Worcester Review. Her poems have recently appeared or will appear in the MacGuffin, West Trade Review, Mom Egg Review, Catalyst, the Mitzmore Anthology, and Mason Street Review, among others. Karen has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net. She's been a member of Marge Piercy's Juried Poets Group, a member of the PoemWorks community for longstanding. Karen is an assistant VP for charitable givings at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Worcester, Massachusetts. Please welcome Karen.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see some family and friends who I have not seen in a long time in person. It's what a treat to see your squares. Thank you, Richard, for inviting me to the reading and to share the space with Sharon, who is a fantastic poet. I know you're going to enjoy her work in her segment next. So let me make sure I look at my time. So we're doing two different sections of poems. Mine are not necessarily arranged thematically, although they may be a little. I think in the overarching presentation, I'll say I grouped the more downer poems in the first half and the more positive poems in the second half.
That's good.
Anyway, without ado, I'm going to read a poem that was recently published because it's a holiday theme, and you all have gone through some sort of holiday celebration, I suspect, over the last few weeks. My family celebrates Christmas, and regardless of what your family celebration is, I'm sure that there are sometimes some family challenges that happen. So this little poem is called Glass is for Looking Through. Christmas gathers its nervous song. Red-cheeked laughter, ribbons, and unwrapping. Cousins, aunts, uncles, stay away. Make excuses. The dog was sick. The power was out. That's what people do. Take sides, stop texting, spin hours until morning empties its cage of shimmering lights. That's what anger does. It eats up absence in a room. It's an ornament no one wants to hang. Driving the back road home. A bear in the junipers fixes its stare on hers. Eyes flame and headlight spray. Scraggle steams from its nose. Asphalt crawls ahead a few more miles. Her favorite orchard outlines in black. Cornfield stubbles in stover. At home, her husband paces for dinner. Flimsy curtain disturbing the dark. A bear doesn't discriminate, just takes what it wants. Acorn, rodent, berry, his fraction of a heart. The way a man's dark shape takes happiness, makes sky ache, devours want. Richard, make sure you give me the hook if I'm if I lose track of time, okay?
Sure.
So I have a persona poem next, and I do want to give a little bit of a setup for it. So we've all been hearing about fake news for almost a decade now, and the creation of fake news and what it is. And I propose that the subject of my next poem, the persona voice that you're going to hear from, was one of the original fake news creators. You guys all know about the Loch Ness Monster in Loch Ness, Scotland. Well, the very first sighting of the Loch Ness Monster happened almost 90 years ago or 91 years ago. And, you know, we all know what that originated, a frenzy of Loch Ness followers to this day who still believe that the Loch Ness Monster is a real thing. And it became famous when a gentleman who was a physician submitted a photo that became famously known as the surgeon's photograph, because he was a man with, you know, credentials. And we all know what it is. It's that funny looking one where the Nessie's floating along in the water. Anyway, this man created what we know of as the image of the Loch Ness Monster. And so this poem is written in his voice. It's about what he did and what people believe. There's a couple of things in here that you might need to know about for words. It references things like water horses and kelpies, which were part of the myths of the people who lived around Loch Ness and probably still are. So this is called Monsters Among Us, after the surgeon's photograph by Robert Kenneth Wilson, MD, taken in Loch Ness, Scotland, 1934. I liked a good blindfolded walk in the forest, heart howling, not knowing whether to be afraid or titillated. Mystery excited me like fingertips on thighs, a candle wickering the dark. For eons, the stories of water horses, mythic kelpies, exorcisms of beasts haunted the lake. So much hysteria in all of us, eeling week after week. Another hump, the footprints on the shoreline, the elegant neck, the gray-brown monochrome reassuring. I transplanted this story into legend, indisputable as the lake itself. The circus of sea beast rolling and plunging into the empty mouths, charming superstition into years of artifice, of quackery, no cure, no curfew bell, secrets breeding like flies. I didn't mean for it to go so far. I didn't mean for infamy to claim me. Regret is the black grouse starving in ryegrass, fog descending. Where is my shoreline now? The lake's deep peat hiding. After a time, I too came to believe in something monstrous within me. Field notes for my ex-husband. I seated the porch steps with distraction. Black sunflower constellations laced with wheat. You thistled feeders on the decking rail. I watched as tanager and ruby throats savored orange on a stick. Birders call the ongoing tally of species sightings a life list. I kept a tally of us too. A betrayal of common jay, grievance of goldfinch on the wing, cardinal's gaslit ghost flame, the silence of barbed bristle feathers around the mouth. Bird by bird, we cataloged the end of desire, of frivolity, of flight. We didn't say who was right or who was wrong when we set our field glasses down.
Beautiful.
How am I doing on time?
Very good, very good.
Okay.
Few more?
Yeah, a couple more. Okay, another persona poem. The subject of this is the World's Fair in Queens, 1965. You probably already all know about the World's Fair, what was going on in that time, war escalating, and so this is and the World's Fair at that time was also the introduction of so many pieces of technology, like video phones were actually introduced there. Disney introduced Tomorrowland, the concept of what Epcot was going to be like. And the globe, if you still go there, if you go there now, the Unisphere is still represented there. That model is still there. So this is the World's Fair talking to a young boy who attends. And it's called Letter to the World's Fair, Queens, 1965. Kid, you were just a Futurama then, rocketing the backyard in an atomic age jetpack, your big brother's soft hands soaring your heart into space shadows behind the sun. The news was putting a unisphere sequined spin on everything, hand-wiping happiness so mothers could sleep at night, their lemon lime dreams cleaned from the green fog of war. Charlie, barely 18, couldn't wait for the draft, just enlisted because Papa did, and then it was every boy on the block covered up in camo, the fairgrounds, the pavilions empty, while they went off humping the boonies in Vietnam. I know the frame of his picture is empty. The robot of your pain is empty. It's funny how you can grow old and still wake up in disbelief some days. You used to believe Charlie went off to Tomorrowland, as if you might run into him at Disney someday. But Tomorrowland turned out to be just a made-up word, like homecoming, like bulletproof, like Padawan, like doomscroll, or like saying you don't still miss him.
Wow.
I have two poems. One's a little bit longer with an intro, the other one is short. So the next poem is older. It's pandemic era. It's political. And I feel this year that it needs to start reading it again. It's in the form of a ghazal, which is a form poem that is supposed to be invoking melancholy and longing. But it has some repetitive lines, and you'll hear some of that pattern in there and a little bit of a rhyme scheme. The thing that makes a ghazal really interesting is that the author is supposed to use their own name in the last stanza. My name is Karen. You all probably know that it is a slang term now to be called Karen. And so that is in here as well. It's called Heat of Summer, a ghazal. A knife of summer sun cuts between rain. Trees steam sidewalks in kerosene rain. Families removed their masks, opened mouths to drink red, white, and blue flags aflame. I wanted to believe things could be better. A killer virus, a killer president, his Twitter train, his heart of dark propaganda, race bait, political porn, gospel greed, again and again. But just last night in any downtown, after the peaceful protest ended, cops in riot gear beat, shot, and arrested 3 Black men. A sad refrain. Hate crimes have no curfew, quarantine, or virus to blame. The knife of summer cuts through kerosene rain, and the ways we kill, rhetoric, lies, bullets, noose, sharp-edged Karens, complicit, manufacturing shames. This last one is what happens when I read the news every day. It's called Safe as Houses. I hold the blue screen light of the world in my hand, the world ablaze, smoking great plumes, news screaming, blast-dusted buildings, children, if alive, wallow in rubble. At breakfast, outside the kitchen window, gunmetal black and white nuthatch royal round. Hunks of suet swing in discord. Copper oak leaves scat shatter still green lawn. Oh, that politely beaming sky, how disarming. A conversation about the weather so my heart can rest. Fat toad in the grass, resting nose down, thinking himself invisible.
Thank you, Karen. Very nice. Sharon.
Okay. I'm going to read a selection of poems from my chapbook, A Kind of Mercy. 36 girls, lights out, no talking. We are sisters massed in pantomime, who shut our lips after the night toll. Our undergarments dwell in meshed bags, stacked in the basket on the bathroom floor, ready to be placed in the front loaders at dawn. All of this I can bear. As for the bras, we must wash them ourselves, like cleansing our souls of dinginess. I wash my bra, 6 basins in a straight row, all of us washing, and 6 plastic bags, where each bra in its solitude welcomes what tiny organisms might thrive the night. While we are asleep, the angel Raphael dispels any thoughts of singularity. The common wash is hung to dry by some other angel in the gated yard. Day's end, it's all returned, the dingy whites, my striking pink bra. Softball on the hill. I would like to be benched for the season, but I step up to bat. In this diamond, tender mercy begins. I pin back the cape of my postulant dress. Sister Ellen yells, "Take the lead out," and she coaches me how to swing. When up to bat, I make a sacrifice bunt, run to first, and find a strange angel there. When it's our turn in the outfield, there are no mitts. Their fouls are redeemed by the softball god. When the batter swings, fear is my curve. Year 4, I am chief of the laundry. Bras, panties, shirts, the name of the sister stitched on each piece. There are also communal sheets ready to be placed in the front loaders. I'm the angel Raphael who hangs them out to dry in the gated yard. No distractions, just chores. I thank God for giving me enough clothespins. Rainy days, I use heaters and pray that the laundry will dry. Steam hits my face as I throw a sheet over the metal bar. I mangle smooth Mother Superior sheets. For all the others, I just fold them tight and square, but leave a few wrinkles in for Sister Mary Rosary, who at breakfast always takes the last Sunday bun. Through this simple work, I consecrate the day.
Oh, that's great.
My best friend leaves the convent. Still, I wonder, homesick or frailty? Hard to follow the rigor of solitude? I never had visions of her with boys, but maybe. The note at the top of the stairs just said, Sister Mary went home today. I wanted to ask her why she left, but I am entrenched with nuns. Nothing more should be asked. Nothing more would be said. On my descent to the chapel, I look down at my black clunky shoes. Each step makes a squeak on the polished stair. Chrysanthemums embolden the altar. I fix my eyes on Sister Mary Lomax, the organist who plays like Bach. The chamber swells. Something leaps in me, a shooting star contained. A visit with my bedridden father. It took 2 years to get permission to see my father. I begin to imagine my first words with him. Beautiful day. and he will answer, "Did you see the light ripple on the stone wall?" But it rains on my first visit. I say, "I wish the rain would stop." And he replies, "It always has." He's wearing a blue Johnny my mother made from one of his old shirts. There is a cross above his bed, a big wooden one with metal Jesus, a touch of red paint on the wounds. Dad's been carving oak into a bowl he has rubbed with linseed oil. My habit does not scrape his floor. My breasts are bridled by a blue gamp. I am Sister Mary Sharon now. It's against the rules, but for him, I lift my veil to show wisp of my hair. I have come from the high-ceilinged cloister. In this tiny room, he seems so small to me. April Fools at the Novitiate. Sister Peter Marie, who baked bread in the silence of the altar bread room, keeping custody of her eyes so as not to contaminate her mind by reading newspapers spread like linen on the tables, enters the dining room where she has set the table not in the usual way, but special on this occasion for Sister Superior. A huge metal mixing bowl, 2 feet in diameter, flanked with a fork as long as my arms, a butcher knife from the cook's kitchen, and a wooden spoon that extended halfway down the table. I sit in silence to the right of Sister Superior, my nervousness reflected in the polished bowl. We begin, "Bless us, O Lord." I dare not laugh. As the platters of food move down the table, I can hardly steady my hand to serve myself 2 pieces of fried bologna and beans onto my plate. I pass the platters to Sister Superior, who glares at Sister Peter Marie as if she were a serial sinner.
Oh, wow.
Summer in the convent kitchen. I watch Sister Bernadette, eyelashes curled, her blue opal eyes, and I see the way Brother Martin melts into easy conversation with her. Like a kid sister, I'd watch her getting ready for him, close to the mirror, the curling gadget pressed 2 minutes, then a hint of mascara. They went blueberry picking, I'm not sure where, but they've returned and made our jam with orange zest. Now together they plump raisins, soak them in water in the cast iron pot on the convent stove to soften, so careful. He drains the hot liquid, holding the heavy pan over the sink. She settles the fruit on a kitchen towel, her head bent down, her hands stretched in blessing the dough she needs, but the mixture sticks. He reaches for the linen to clean each fingertip so tenderly as if they were husband and wife. What is this I'm feeling? Is it jealousy?
Oh,
Second thoughts after my first vows. Silent as winter woods, I pause like a rest in a Bach chorale to ask myself questions. Why am I here? What does it mean that my heart is for mercy? I had to ask my parents for gifts of a broom and mop for Christmas. I did so willingly, though they protested, dressed them up in red felt, a 6-foot-tall stocking, my name embroidered boldly. Where does my heart rest? I rest in God. And what of the young priest who brought strawberries in winter to the convent party? How we sat by the fireplace, how I wanted him to stay. My accusation knocking on her door. At a house meeting, she accuses me. You are a manipulator. Her tones surge with judgment. She is a tornado that tears me down, making me brittle down to my bones. I rage. I don't know how to feel my anger. No one taught me. Not at home, not here. That stifled anger has been wrapped in a box, but I want to break the ribbon now. My plan is to knock on her door until she answers. But as I come closer, I run with my mind. What will she say? What will she do? I stand there like this every minute long. I decide to let the coolness of the moon in. The limbs of my body go limp until there is no more intent to rage. Only then can I knock on her door. And when she doesn't answer, I just keep knocking. A kink in the road. I'm leaving the convent, decision done, the defined path I've lived 3 decades over. Restlessness gushes open like a river mouth into ocean, leaving home when home is already gone. Sister Maureen and I take a walk through a field bordered by marsh grass, Irish feet treading softly on grounds more sacred than a convent cloister. She is the first person I tell. We are tales of mercy, drinking holy wine.
Mm.
My final night as a nun. I kneel on the carpeted floor and hold on to the quilted spread. Holy Mary, Virgin Mother of God, keep me safe. I will bring you white carnations, the sweetest incense, and chant your name. Protect me from lightning strikes, robbers, and heresies that threaten my belief that the sun spins each day for you. Oh, lady up there, give me a sign, a mallard in my vernal pond, the long heralded heron landing on my roof.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Karen.
Wow, Sharon, those were amazing.
Thank you.
I loved hearing it all as a selection. So, such great work. All right. I know we're just on the cusp of real winter with this snow coming, but we're going to look ahead. How to greet the day. As an early morning in late March, a blonde light beaming treetops pink and gold. As a cup lifted to your mouth, as bluebirds confident as compasses feathering the feeder, as a merganser stubbling the pond's cold open water, knifing its depth for fish, as the bowl of unwashed eggs from the farm, shells pale shades of sand, the most fragile, delicate things you can ever imagine, next to the kindling of a mending heart, next to the tender gold of almost life inside. In the humid afternoon, we were riding our bikes at sunset, languid breezes soaking my skin, when I started to think about the way his fingers had traced the lines of my palm, mapping distant routes through the humid afternoon, roads named Crow Hill, Wolf Den, Little Snake, a surplus of animal pleasures. And it was like I floated up off my bike on wings to sing the hunger of it all. The orange dome of wild sky spiraled. Waves of light burst my heart through my eager body animate. Our legs kept turning, churning toward dusk. In the high meadow, I felt the hot winds unhitch, unravel, gravity undone.
Mm. Mm.
I had the privilege of living in a rental house on a lake for 4 years, and it was time to move on from there, but also so hard to leave. And this is about leaving. It's called transmutation.
Mm.
I knew I was meant to ache that day, and I was meant to open that day. I'd filled my heart with boxes of rattle and cough, taped them shut. The ghost of me not wanting to leave, heavy as flannel pajamas. The persistence of me, ready to go, hunting the end of the driveway. September's sunrise pinked, blood red orange. Late summer hemlock flagged the green shore. Grace, like little black-capped chickadees, hovered above the red metal feeder shaped like a house. The highway's hive hum, a song of distance. Who among us has no sorrow plotted on our maps?
Mm.
No weeping wreckage to carry. Nature does not need love to be perfect, the glitch of grief to be unraveled or licked in flame. In my hand, the pottery mug glazed green and blue as the lake's shoreline itself. I was as rich as I needed to be. The coffee good, dark, hot, its steam kissing my lips.
Mm. Beautiful. Oh, gorgeous poem.
Those of you who are moms, no matter how old your child is, I know that you remember when he was born. It's just, it's a moment that is not, it's not forgettable. And so my son is 33 years old, and I still continually write poems now and then about when they were young. And this past summer, I wrote about his actual birth. And this is called His Departure Comes Over Me. The midwife spread our placenta between her hands, a pink ebullient aurora, a big banged constellation of veins, bloody and blazoned, a whole galaxy exploding. For months, I had shunned the doctor's sonic wands of prediction, welcomed the mystery of my sweeping, swelling belly, its presence omnipotent, a verdant green meadow. Azure skies hadn't mattered. Unpaid bills lost their fright. Electricity's spark companionable, forgettable. I was a woman at the edge of a world. In the chill hospital room, I pushed and heaved like an animal, knocking at the blue space between mountains, nearly clawing the baby out of myself. His crown, a moon cresting bigger and bigger, and me gowned, splayed, vulnerable as grief, my body releasing the pulse of his life, thrumming its belonging, its clear blue song across his forehead.
Wow. So good.
Mm.
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 In this move that I accomplished this year, I became the privileged owner of my first ever garage. Ever. Garage. So I wrote a poem about my garage called Ode to My First Garage. So garage is a noun. It's borrowed from the French. It means keeping under cover, protection, and shelter.
Huh.
This is my fun ode to my first garage. As a girl, I dreamed of the collage of your protection, your bourgeois, your ready refuge from any barrage, your camouflage, my heart, my steed, my lodge. Now, years later, my neck cowled in wrinkles, my hair a suitable shade of dyed over gray. You are my first push button automation, my own harborage, the carriage of my own welcome. I don't care that your doors arthritically creak or that you're a little damp on occasion. We all weep sometimes, fall for sabotage. What matters is your ready swoon of welcome, your corsage of roof and door to keep me dry, that solid foundation I've always wanted. The wrap of you, like a bocage, your entourage. With you, I'm a bear in a cave, a dog in a den, no mirage, no grudge, no grunge. I'm the rock star now, parked and not for sale, a garage queen, carefully kept, discerningly driven.
That's great. Perfect.
This last poem is called Everything Else Can Wait.
Beautiful.
No perfect couple right off the cake. No swollen, uncontested years, wings bent and tattered by the cat. There are nights when I still cannot sleep. Owls, bats, sheep traipse my brain. But I'm getting it now. We are the belated guests at the table. We are music in the mouth, hands held as feathers. Nothing is impossible. When you open your eyes to look at me, I promise to open mine.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
That's gorgeous.
Thank
And our final quarter, Sharon again.
Hi, thanks, Karen. Beautiful reading. The next section is just a variety of themes. Making an Easter card in memory of Brian Murray, my nephew, 1968 to 1973. Out of red felt, I'm cutting the word rebirth, one letter at a time. The first R, the hottest. With blunt kid scissors, I rim the bowl of the R, that empty bowl. The E is easier, 3 prongs like a pitchfork. B reminds me I will someday be with him, his blue sky writing bedazzling me. I, the straight line. I steady to make another R, ride the angle to let the grief out. T is the tickle I get about the mischievous nickel trick, the one he played on me. H is for the harvest for this hero who has fallen to the ground, who sprouts up in my memory. May he sprout up in you. Elegy for my brother in memory of Ted Foley, 1939 to 2012. You joke when you call, pretending you need help. A bird on your head you can't get rid of, and I laugh. When you ask how I'm doing, I tell you about the soup I'm making, roasted red pepper and sweet potato. You pry a little more. I heard you're having money troubles, so I let you know, and you pay my rent for a year. You teach me how to study my accounts without making me feel small. You say I can count, but you can write. I remember when the 6 of us were kids, our living room had only 5 seats. More than once, you gave up your chair for me. I reach for the cobalt loafers that I wore that last Thanksgiving when the 6 of us were seated at your hearth. I hear the male cardinal sing his daily anthem. Is that you?
Oh, heartbreaking.
Elegy and Apology for Mary Beth, my niece, 1960 to 2011. You called me, Auntie, could you counsel me? I said no. Child of my sister, child of my godchild, I could not hear your plea. So numbed I was to your hurt. Forgive me for withholding my comfort. I could not bear when your eyes glittered with drink, always away, swerving, not able to think. Ashen White, in memory of Kenneth McCloskey, my nephew, 1958 to 2021. I feed him creamy chowder, the kind he likes, spoon by spoon. It's all he can swallow. At what point does the spirit outweigh the body? Muscles weakened, face ashen. I think it's now. Shall we walk toward the hammock? He nods yes, and we move from the table to the shade. I think of him as a boy, his long copper hair blowing in the Chatham breeze. Pointing his hand to a sparrow, he rises like a sunflower does toward the heavens. Social worker at St. Vincent's Home, first client. Me? I'm just an apprentice. How do I meet her halfway? She needs an expert. I've read about her, 4-alarm fire setter, one in the Foster family's basement. She walks in, her presence like a cherub in a Raphael painting, the blonde curls, the innocent face turned down, the voice soft. How can I unravel her mystery? Is her soul malleable as gold? Hesitant, I begin to dare to ask her the question, what are you angry about? School social worker, home visit. His mother warns, I've tried hitting, it doesn't work. Drinking out of a sippy cup, applesauce on his tray, Lucas grins as he throws the mush on the floor. Scattered toys decorate the room. He sits for a half minute, a 12-inch television screen, the focal point. I try to catch his eyes, mahogany moving like a pair of small plastic trucks. He avoids me first, then lets him lift him onto my lap. I begin to sing, I see the moon and the moon sees me. He finally stops, shaking the stuffed doll with bells in her ears. Hide and seek, poem on Eric. Come on, Eric, it's time to go in. Eric doesn't budge. His shoes blink on and off toward the jungle gym. He climbs to the highest rung, knees go over the bar, arms dangle, face red till he pulls himself upright and jumps down to play his game. Eric, time to get in line. He stoops for a handful of wood chips to throw at anyone who might get close. I offer him my hand. He clings to metal. I let him be there for a while. I find his backpack, carry it closer to him, and as I do, outpours sharpened pencils, crayons, glue sticks, tissues, a squeeze ball, and in an envelope, his mother's picture with a note, I love you, but please stay in school. I sit on the seesaw and wait.
Mm. Wow.
A retired teacher on Valentine's Day. I reminisce, walk to the post office, and read my mind. I love you, Boris. Love the way you cross your arms to tell me you are mad, but mean no harm. You stand so still in line, my precious Beth, scared to make a sound, you lose your breath. Billy, you work so hard at blending sounds, the greatest mounds of stars I give to you on my rounds. Valerie, goodness, I remember your dress, but sorely miss your sweet caress. I pray these cards with postage stamps tell my love for you, my cherished champs.
Mm.
All day in the garden moving rocks. When I can't find love, I find it illumined in circles formed by tree branches. When besieged by the clang of engines, I come to music sung by a chorus of birds. When my pockets are empty, I find the double sunrise shell and string my emptiness into a necklace of delight. Long Beach, Harwich, Massachusetts. I don't tremble down the hill, but thrill to the clutch of the rough log, the rail of the stairway Dad has built, 7 steps to the concrete landing with the year 1954 carved in. The scent of honeysuckle cues me. Watch for the horizon, the first patch of lake, the pine distant on the other side. Now the narrow beach, rough rocks on the breakwater that brings the sand in, and beyond a sailfish splashed by the speedboat, making waves that never reach the shore. I revel in the first time of treading water, my breaststroke toward Dad, relief as our fingertips touch. On St. Bridget's Day, I hold a relic, a sliver of her bone, no bigger than a hangnail, wrapped like a badge, the edges stitched with green thread to help me quell my fear of lightning. I weave Bridget's cross today, press firmly my fingers on the straw, crisscrossing and turning them to make the central knot, to seek her heart, that heard anomalies, like lepers thirsty who want to celebrate with beer, and the woman who did not want her child. I pray, let me hear and heal.
Mm.
75th birthday. Shall I get drunk on brandy, Lord? Thank my loving Father for his mercy? Toast my life's trajectory the best? And who of all my guests stay the course with me? I can only guess. How shall I dress? Shall I be a daffodil against gray storm clouds, adorned with pearls, melding all that ages? Or camouflaged as an Arctic fox? Who will rest beside me on this quest?
Mm.
The little I know about my grandmother. At age 16, this dark Irish girl from County Cork crossed the ocean, landed in Boston, landed a job as a maid serving Father Harrington and the others in the 3-story rectory at Holy Cross Cathedral, watching, starching, and ironing their albs, mending their chasubles. The tale is how she built a family business, a Sunoco gas station on the corner of Oak Hill and Central. How admired she was for her shrewdness in keeping the books and charging interest to anyone who owed her money. Every Friday night, Dad would drive her the short block from her house to ours. She'd shuffle in, wearing worn-out bedroom slippers, her stockings rolled at the knee, her cotton house dress, a geometric red print, the short sleeves revealing skin as thin as the tissue in her pocket. She'd sit on the comfy chair in our breezeway to watch our TV, not owning one herself. She'd end the night with parting words, "I'll remember you in my will." A flock of eastern bluebirds, such brilliance to land on tips of my evergreen, the blue wings, breasts copper, cold and quivering. Is this just ordinary journey, camaraderie, or is it prayer sung in soprano pitch? Oh, to believe the perfect timing of this uplift.
Oh. Oh, thank you guys so much. That was so wonderful. My heart is just vibrating with joy. And now we'll have a few people to enter the room and share one of their poems. Here comes Margot Wizansky.
Hi. Hello, everyone. That was really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. This poem I've just written in honor and memory of my cousin Ken, who just died a couple of weeks ago. He was an anthropologist, and he did his field work in the Amazon. He slept in a hammock next to the chief in memory of my cousin Ken, 1945 to 2023. First outsider to be guest of the Wausha on the Xingu River, in the Amazon, Mato Grosso, in Brazil, on Earth, in the cosmos. The chief's tiny daughter climbed into his hammock, warmed his shoulders on a chilly night, he told me. In the Amazon, Mato Grosso, in Brazil, on Earth, in the cosmos, the custom to move in the night between hammocks. On a chilly night, the chief's tiny daughter warmed his shoulders. On nightly hammock visits, they told each other their dreams. It was custom to move in the night between hammocks. Whatever food they found was shared: a fish, a root, a small game animal. On nightly hammock visits, they told each other their dreams. They shared everything. No one starved. They were completely self-sufficient. Whatever food they found was shared: a fish, a root, a small game animal. An anthropologist shouldn't work subjectively, he knew. They shared everything. No one starved. They were completely self-sufficient. And he feared they were about to be exterminated like other tribes. An anthropologist shouldn't work subjectively, he knew. A betrayal, he felt, to subject them to scholarly analysis when he feared they'd be exterminated like other tribes. Time running out, he tried to save them, beseeching anyone who'd listen. A betrayal, he felt, to subject them to scholarly analysis. Instead, he begged ambassadors, heads of state, the UN. He failed when he tried to save them, beseeching anyone who'd listen. He'd lived with the tribe 2 years, and they'd become a part of him. No ambassador, no head of state, no one from the UN helped to save them. The Wausha imprinted everything Ken touched for the rest of his life. He'd lived with the tribe 2 years, and they'd become a part of him. First outsider ever to be guest of the Wausha on the Xingu River.
Oh,
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you, Margot.
Just
Mm, beautiful.
can I ask, is Shelby here? Shelby Allen? Well, in that event, we will go on to Clara Silverstein.
What a beautiful evening. Such different voices and just such beautiful observations. So thank you for that. I know Karen read some persona poems, so here's one that I wrote in the voice of my mother. Mother, 1933. Everything belongs to the bank now, Daddy says, locking the door. The bank took our car too, even though it still smells like throw up. My dolls don't want to whisper. There is no bird bath for making them tea. Stay nearby, Mommy says. So I follow Aunt Belle, a scrap of a woman with pointy glasses and a hat that swallows her face. In the garden, she hums and clips roses, tells me to stay on the walkways. If I sigh or say I'm bored, my parents remind, we are guests. My shoes pinch, but new ones are out of reach. I am not to throw a birthday party this year. No ice cream, no silly hats, just the family. How sad to be 8.
Mm, oh, thank you.
Hmm.
Mm.
Wow, thank you. Up next, we have Kerry Loughman.
Oh, thank you very much for letting me read tonight. Everyone else's work has been just so beautiful. I'm honored.
Mhm.
I have a family poem as well. 2 blocks from the Arboretum. Our mother never taught us how to love. Not being loved enough, weaned on paucity. Do you remember losing me on Custer Street? I was 3, you 11, and loath to care for me who lagged behind. You turned a corner and were gone. My tears did not bring you back. I ran panicked the blocks to our house where you waited, pale and unrelenting, anti-Madonna of the splintered stair. By high school, you'd spun yourself so far away, I knew you only by your absence. Bereft, I ran solo under dawn redwood. Embracing a perfect and necessary dark, I seed. Sister, you are lost to me.
Mm. Mm.
Oh,
Mm.
thank you. Up next, David Miller.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Sharon and Karen, thanks very much for your poem. It's such a pleasure to hear them, and to my fellow open micers, thank you too.
Mhm.
This poem I've read in person a number of times, and I usually start off by surveying the audience, which I can't quite do in this interface, but I have a question for you. It's a rock and roll trivia question. So at the very end of the 1960s, the band, whom you may remember as The Band, had a hit single. The A-side was Up on Cripple Creek. Good song. Does anybody remember the song that was on the B-side? I can't see everyone's faces, but if you happen to remember. Kerry signals that she doesn't remember. I can see Kerry.
Mhm.
The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down.
I was going to say that.
You got it. Okay, Richard, you could. Thank you. So you had it in mind. All right, that's where the poem begins. Okay.
Okay.
All the people were singing. Yes, The band's broken voice lament for Virgil Caine. I bought it. Many's the time I homespun it, 45 RPM on the family turntable. Up on Cripple Creek got airplay, but its B-side lured me to the record store. There went Robert E. Lee. And I was sorrowful because old Dixie'd been driven down. Tracks torn up, barely alive. I compassionated in my mind with the poor white whose brother was laid in his grave by a Yankee in defeat. In 1969, this was just history, old mud beneath Dixie's feet. Maybe Joan Baez felt the same. Her cover launched Robbie Robertson's Lost Cause plaint to the head of the charts 8 years after she bathed the Lincoln Memorial with "We Shall Overcome." Because sure, we'd overcome, not someday, but almost now. I sang the song in youth group enough times to be sure of that. We could cast side eyes at those scattered skulk types snarling under their respective rocks. They were perishing. Mad Magazine guffawed at the Klan. So did I. We Great Society kids had belted Dixie in elementary music hour without a cringe. We didn't really wish we were in the land of cotton. It was old-timey Americana, like "Oh, Susanna" or "Old Black Joe." I hadn't the least notion that when Lee bid his affectionate farewell to the Army of Northern Virginia, that was only a strategic pause. I thought it meant the war had ended way back then. Thank you.
Wow. Very good. Thank you, David. And last but certainly not least, Pam Gemme.
Oh, good.
Absolutely beautiful reading, you guys, and thank you to my other fellow micers as well. It's beautiful. Oh God. So this is something I'm working on. God and Me, an American Woman. Post-Dobbs decision, U.S. Supreme Court, June 24th, 2022. God, we are both in charge of reproduction. Balloons tethered and tied at the nape of our own necks so no air goes astray. Dispensing paper laws for unborn embryos. God, won't you dispel cells in brackish water from a womb? A quickening for my life is to be visible, to be viable. Hear my prayer. Why have me fix the labor shortage? No, I can't abort. Who'd covet the work, Lord? No earthly reason to save people like me from poverty. I dig the ditches, clean, supreme latrines. God made the fertile for poorest service. It is written to inherit the earth. Am I a peasant kneeling to a king? Or am I a stray howling in the hills? Lord, your reverence is mankind's breath, the teeth in the stars, shearing shades of dark from the sky. I am an American woman in need of blessings. Won't you praise me, Lord, just a little? Thank you.
That's great, Pam. Yeah. Oh, very good. Oh.
Let's do here. I'm having a little technical challenge. Oh, here you are. Yes, what an amazing reading. And I must confess that I made a mistake. We were supposed to have Sharon first. Sharon came through like a pro that she is. So sorry for that mishap there. What happened was I touched something on the keyboard and suddenly everything was shifting and I just kind of freaked out for a moment. But it turned out to be wonderful. Thank you for your spontaneity.
Yeah.
You know how many
Yeah.
times I've been called Sharon in my life with my name as Karen Sharpe? It didn't matter one way or the other. No worries.
Handled
That's
it
good.
great. And about Sharon, I like to say, everyone remembers the singing nun, and then there was the flying nun. Now we have the poetry nun.
Thanks. Thanks, Richard. You encouraged me many times to keep at it, so that was good.
Nuns playing baseball. It doesn't get better than that.
Right. Right.
And that birthing poem, Sharon, that is unbelievable. Has that been published yet?
Which poem? The
Oh,
Aaron.
about my son?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, not
That's
yet.
beautiful.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
Yeah,
It
that's
needs to
beautiful.
be.
Mm,
Being shopped around, you know how it is, could take a
Yeah,
while.
Oh, yeah.
right.
I want to thank everyone for the nice comments in the chat. Very beautiful, reflective, very appreciative of it. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Mhm. Mm. It was great to have so many people here tonight too. Yeah, right. Mhm. New faces. Mm.
Let's unmute and give a round of applause here for all poets.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh. Mhm. Mm.
So Richard, who's next in the PoemWorks series?
It's a bit of a secret right now.
Ah,
Mhm.
Ah,
Mm.
This has been my first week of retirement, and I've had a lot of technological shifts going on, losing my work machines and getting a new machine and all that kind of good stuff, and transferring data, not wanting to lose a lifetime of poetry for
Mhm.
so it's been kind of challenging. But I will let people know soon.
Mhm. Mm.
great. Thank you for having us, and thank you
Yeah.
to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard, and thanks for keeping this up. Yeah, my goodness.
yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Well, so great to see many new faces, and certainly come back if you wish. And we look forward to the next first Friday of the month.
Good.
Can I ask
Good.
Karen, can you send us a link to buy your book?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want it in the chat?
Yeah, we could
Yes.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Richard. That was amazing. What a wonderful way to enjoy my Friday evening. Hearing two fantastic poets and then many more in addition. So thank you again for holding
Mhm.
this.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Off to a good start here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Everyone
you.
stay strong.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.